from up here. We've got the first tree here is a pear. It's Doyenne du Comice. That's just an eating pear. I thought it sounded interesting as I was looking up the varieties. The next one is Esopus Spitzenburg. So a mixture, most of these trees are a mixture between eating and cider. I've got some specific bittersweets, a few bitter sharps, and a bunch of dual purpose eating and cider varieties, a lot of the American ones like Esopus Spitzenburg. This is Blenheim Orange. These are the first of my two Perry pears. There was, I'm not sure which one's which, I'll have to check the tag, but this is, I got Moorcroft and Gin. So this is one of them, that's the other. They've just been, you can see, might be able to see a bit of dust on the leaves. I've just dusted all the pears because I just noticed a bunch of the apple sawfly. Is it apple sawfly? It's the sawfly that lays these slugs on the leaves that eventually chew enough of the green off it that the leaves drop off. There's a fairly big problem, particularly with this variety last year. Lost all the leaves towards the end of the growing season because I was too busy to get around to doing anything. So I've just dusted it with some wood ash from the wood heater. This is King David, an American, I think, yeah, King David, an American eating variety that was known to be used for cider. And let me have a look at this one. Oh, where's the tag? Cimetiere. So this is a French bittersweet. Cimetiere du Pays, or what was the other name for it? De Blangy, I think. Goes by a number of different names. Yeah, I got two French cider varieties. So that's a French bittersweet. This is Somerset Redstreak. They were pretty slow to come out this year. They're probably the last of the trees to leaf out, which they're coming along pretty well now. This is the second one. I had an extra rootstock that was sent to me the first year, so I chose to double graft Somerset Redstreak. This is Granny Smith. So I really didn't want to graft a Granny Smith. You can buy them at the shop as much as as many as you want. So I don't see any reason to actually grow Granny Smiths, but Mum wanted me to graft her one, so there you go. This will be Stayman's Winesap. It's another American eating variety that's known for cider, or has been used for cider, I suppose. This is Golden Harvey, which is a mild bittersweet according to some books, but mostly a sweet. It's a very tempting sounding name to the, it's a sounding description to the fruit, so I'm quite excited to see what that fruit actually tastes like when I wind up getting a good crop of that. This is Sweet Coppin. is it? Or Sweet Alford? I was going backwards and forwards onto that. Which one of those? I think I wound up going for Sweet Alford, actually. Let me have a look. Yeah, Sweet Alford. Or Alford, I don't know which. So there's a couple of these that were not grafted by me that I bought already grafted. This was one of them. There was the two Pear pears and the Doyenne de Comice were all grafted at the nursery. The rest so far have been ones that I've grafted. It's the Court of Wick, which is a mild sharp, I think. The notorious Kingston Black. So that had a pretty good year, first year. They're supposed to have a really high chill requirement for this variety. For some reason last year it set about 5 fruit on the second season after grafting. So it'd be interesting to see what that does over the years, because it's not supposed to have. I did graft it thinking I may as well have a variety since it's one that everyone talks about, but I didn't actually expect it to set any fruit. So it'd be interesting to see whether it actually over the years produces much, or potentially if it's even the right variety. Because most of these I got from most of these varieties I got mailed to me from amateur apple variety collectors here in Victoria. So who knows, maybe it's potentially mislabeled. I wouldn't say yet, that I haven't seen enough of it, I suppose, to say whether or not it's the wrong variety. I was just a little surprised to see how well it did the first year. This is Cornish Aromatic. Yep. Bushing out nicely this year. This is a quince. Masters Early. It's another one that wasn't grafted by me. That took a hell of a beating from a wallaby last year. So it's really leggy. It's unusual growing, that tree. I don't know why. It probably needs a better structure, potentially. I'd have to look into that. This is an Australian variety of, it's called the Huonville Crab. Huonville Crab apple. It's found growing wild in the Huon Valley in Tasmania. As you can see, it's got these lovely red fruit. Got quite a few of them. It's got the quite dark red leaves in places. Apparently has red sap as well. It's the place that I got this from suggested that it's possibly a crab that's hybridized with an eating variety, because they're not as crabby as your usual crab apples. And as you can see, this is it's early to mid-December at the moment, and they're quite a decent size fruit. I'm not sure how big they're actually supposed to get. All the fruit last year wound up getting taken by birds. Oh, there's only 1 or 2 on this last year, and it got taken by birds fairly early on, so I didn't get to see what it looked like when they were actually ripe. This is the other French variety, Chataingier, and don't comment on my French. It's not worth it. This is a eating variety that is used in cider in France. The third French tree, which is the it's the well-known, it's a really famous cooking variety, Calville Blanc. That's got I let a couple of those fruits set this year, so you can probably see them in there. I'll see whether they actually wound up getting to ripeness. And the last one from so this is Dabinette, the other bittersweet variety that I've got. So all this last year, I planted out here last year, so 18 months ago, and the ones that I grafted, I did graft 12 months before that, so sort of 2.5 years. So this one was 2.5 years. 2.5 years ago that was grafted, and this is the second. We're halfway through the second full growing season for that variety. Dabinette was exactly the same, grafted exactly the same time, but it didn't really seem to do that well last year. It just never, you can see down here that that point there was as much as it grew. Oh no, maybe the one above that. That's about as far as it grew last year, whereas the rest of the trees were sort of up to my head height. This didn't grow half as much. Seems to have put on a bit more speed this year. So I don't know whether it was still had a problem with the graft union or not. And but it does seem to be coming along a bit quicker and better this year. So we'll see what happens there. And so that was all the trees, except for there's 2 citrus that were not doing so well up at Mum and Dad's. They were in pots. I said, oh well, I'll plant them out. We'll see how they go. But that one's just started putting on extra leaves, and about 2 months ago it looked no different to this. And they just didn't like they were almost dead in the pots anyway, and they didn't like being transferred. So that one hasn't perked itself up. I need to cut out some of that dead wood. I don't really hold much hope for that. We'll see what happens. Yeah, that was a whole lot that I planted last winter, and then I did some more grafting this year. So the year after. So I'll end the video there, and in the next video we'll go over some of the extra ones that I did this year.